meteorologist Chase Jones.
Well, despite it being a beautiful day, it's that time of the year when the sun is blinding you when you're headed down Sherwood, and then when you're going on the loop around dinner time, it's also blasting in your eyes, but it's going to be sticking around for a couple more months as we deal with these clear skies, but some of this dust might keep us from the glaring sun. Now, temperatures over the last 24 hours, I know I told you freezing temperatures were gone, but we got all the way down there last night. Made a good run at those 80 degrees, and then we're cooling off pretty quickly underneath these clear skies. Right now in those mid-50s, and we're going to drop about 10 more degrees down into those mid-40s before we pop right back up into those 80s. That's about a 40-degree run in only 24 hours, and there's more wild weather on its way. 57 in San Angelo, everybody else, and a combination of those 60s and those 50s across the entire region, seeing shades of blues try to sneak their way in. 56 in Sterling City, 60 down there in Junction, looking like 4 degrees across the entire Concho Valley. Unless you want to count from Sonora to Junction, that's the 6 degrees we want, but not in the direction we want. As I keep looking, I'm seeing the wider spread, 65 in Brady, 54 down there in Ozona. So we still are inside that 10-degree range, but we're looking from the west for some of these drier conditions and those higher winds. Now, dew points are way down there in those single digits, if not those teens, while the humidity indices are joining them down there in those teens and those 20s. And we're going to see the instability on the resurgent, but the higher winds are going to push it off towards the east, and there is a monster storm taking aim right there near Kentucky and Tennessee. But here in the Concho Valley, just dealing with those high winds and that persistent dry weather. Now, I'm on the lookout for any moisture, but it's really looking like those storms are going to hop over us here in the Concho Valley. Now, the upper level pattern is going to show you where this high pressure is in place. By about Wednesday, the middle of the week, we have our eye on this low pressure system by Friday. Now, the shades of red going to be about 100 miles per hour somewhere up in the panhandle. That's down at the surface. So it's going to be a high wind event, and so we're going to see reduced visibility. So we're on our way towards it as we make our way through a pretty busy and active second week of spring. But the high pressure around Florida going to keep these storms primarily up towards the northeast. So they're on this trajectory from the Concho Valley up Tornado Alley and then somewhere around the Great Lakes. Now, they're set to see more rounds of snow as a result from this storm off the west coast. But when you take a good look off the east coast, getting a better idea of this dry air as it interacts with the Gulf Stream, pulling more moisture around. So we have two systems going at the same time on east coast, and then here in the Concho Valley, just dealing with the dry air, not the cold air, not the cold air. So when we look at the severe weather outlook off the east coast, things finally calming down. We take you down to the surface, getting a better idea of what these storms are going to do and where they're headed. Now, off the east coast, pushing off where they're going to see some of those higher winds. Off the west coast, here comes our storm where they're seeing winter weather alerts. They're going to see about 3 feet of snow from this storm, and they're seeing red flag alerts right down there in New Mexico. Now, into the future cast, I use the Global High Resolution Atmospheric Forecasting System, the GRAPH, for any of you weather nerds out there, to get a better idea of when this storm is going to roll its way in. Now, it's going to be pretty intense through Mississippi and Alabama. Then as the weekend rolls around, that's the storm taking over the entire Rocky Mountains. That's another winter storm making its way in for the second week of March. That's pretty intense when you talk about the prefrontal warming that's going to pull its way here in the Concho Valley. That's where we're going to see those winds push up to about 60 miles per hour, if not higher, here in the Concho Valley. So let's enjoy that nice weather while we have it down tonight, down into those 40s. Then tomorrow, good run at those 80s, but go ahead and tie down those loose objects because by Wednesday, we are expecting some high winds. Around Thursday, going to warm up around those 90-degree marks, but then by Friday, here comes that strong winds as it pushes all the way down into those 70s. Now, we're on the lookout for any moisture, but it's not looking very likely. Then we make our way into the weekend as we're on the warm-up back up into those 80s, while those overnight lows go from those 50s up into those 60s, then right back down into those 40s. Stay tuned. I'll break. You're watching KSAN News at 10.